Hello everyone, my name is Zhuolong Yu. Today I will present Lumina, a tool that helps us understand the micro behaviors of hardware network stacks. Hardware network stack is widely used. For example, in Azure, more than 70% of network traffic is RDMA traffic. In this talk, we focus on RDMA. Here is a comparison of TCP/IP and RDMA. RDMA bypasses the kernel and implements its own network stack entirely in the NIC. It can achieve high throughput, low latency, and very low CPU overhead. To best utilize the performance, the network programmers should be familiar with the behaviors of hardware network stacks. While reading the specifications is helpful, it may not cover enough details of actual implementation. For example, how the retransmission pipeline is organized, and how large should we expect the retransmission latency to be. The current practice to test hardware network stack is to run end-to-end applications in test clusters. In this way, we can measure end-to-end performance and review functional bugs. However, there are three drawbacks. First, we cannot accurately capture the micro behaviors. Second, there are large noises brought by different network and application conditions. And thirdly, it has large resource consumption for some certain workloads. So what is missing? We need a tool to enable developers to easily write precise and reproducible test cases. And the tool should be able to interact with the network stack in a flexible and deterministic manner. The tool should also accurately capture the micro behaviors. Testing hardware network stack is challenging because of two reasons. First, as a network stack is implemented in the hardware, we cannot inject packets or measure behaviors directly at the end host. Second, as the hardware network stack provides high performance, the testing tool should be able to interact with them at high speed with low latency. We propose Lumina. Lumina uses a programmable switch as a middle box to inject events to the traffic. Since the middle box may not have enough resource and flexibility to do complex measurement, we mirror all the packets from the middle box to some servers for offline analysis. Here we show the architecture of Lumina. We have four components: orchestrator, traffic generator, event injector, and traffic dumper. To run a test, the orchestrator will take a configuration file as input and sends RPCs to each component to coordinate the executions. Our goal is to support users to write precise and reproducible test cases. The logic of traffic generator is simple. It has two roles, a requester and a responder. They will take the configuration, exchange metadata, and then start the traffic. The event injector takes a user configuration as input. For example, the user can write a configuration saying, drop the second packet of the first QP. The user configuration is then translated into data plane language. In this example, it is going to drop the packet with sequence number 1002 sent from the requester to the responder. Our event injector is required to identify each packet, including the same packet before and after retransmission. You can check our paper for more details. Next, let's talk about traffic dumping. We need to capture packets from both the requester and the responder. One choice is to use tools like IB-dump or TCP-dump to dump packets as the end host. However, it is unclear if dumping as the end host will impact the network behavior. Besides, dumping packets as two servers may involve clock synchronization, which is hard to deal with. So in Lumina, we mirror the traffic to some servers, and the servers will dump the traffic. When we do the mirroring, three actual fields are attached to the mirrored packets. Since we are using the mirrored trace to analyze the behaviors, The first step is to ensure there's no packet loss in the mirrored trace. We use a mirror sequence number to ensure that. A legal trace should have consecutive mirror sequence number, and we use a field to store the event types that were injected to the traffic. And the timestamp field supports fine-grained time measurement. In this example, the requester sends 5 packets, and we drop the 3rd packet using our tool. So the responder only receives 4 packets, while all the 5 packets are mirrored. The first packet has sequence number 1, drop tag 0, and the 3rd packet has sequence number 3, drop tag 1, meaning that the 3rd packet in the original message was dropped. Upon finishing the experiment, the orchestrator collects all the results, checks the integrity, and do further analysis. The integrity check will make sure there's no packet loss in the mirrored trace, and the analysis can be customized by the users. Next, I will discuss our experiments and findings. We tested 4 NICs from 2 vendors. In our testbed, we have 4 servers connected by a switch. 2 of the servers are traffic generators, and the other 2 are traffic dumpers. We have tested different network behaviors, such as retransmission, congestion control, and performance isolation. And we have found several bugs using Lumina. In this talk, I will discuss 2 of them. The first bug is called the noisy neighbor problem, which we found on CS4 NIC. It means that when we have multiple flows running, packet loss of some flows can affect other flows. In the experiment, we established 36 connections. Each connection will do an RDMA read to read data from the remote side. We pick I connections and drop 1 packet for each of the I connections. Ideally, only these I connections should be affected since they have packet loss. However, what we observed is that the victim flows are affected badly and have very large message completion time. Here is the result. The blue bars are victim flows. So when I is larger than 12, the victim flow's message completion time goes to hundreds of milliseconds. By checking the NIC counters, we can find that there are many packets discarded by the NIC at the receiver side. When some tail packets are dropped by the NIC, timeout will happen, thus leading to extremely high message completion time. The second bug is that the ETS, or enhanced transmission selection, is not work conserving, meaning that the bandwidth is wasted in some cases. To trigger this bug, we can have 2 connections, and at the center side, we map 2 QPs to 2 ETS queues, and we consistently mark ECNs for the first connection to simulate congestions. Ideally, the first connection will have lower throughput because of DZQCN rate limiting, and the other connection can consume the spare bandwidth left. However, our experiment shows that the second connection didn't use the spare bandwidth, and the total throughput is much lower than the link bandwidth. Here is our experiment result. In the first case, we map 2 connections to 2 different queues, but we don't inject any ECN. In the second case, we map 2 connections to 2 different queues, and we inject ECN for QP0. In the third case, the 2 connections are mapped to a same queue, and we inject ECN for QP0. As we can see in the second case, when we use 2 queues and the throughput of the first connection is throttled, the other queue cannot use the spare bandwidth, and the total throughput is limited. So in conclusion, we propose Lumina, a tool that helps us understand the micro behaviors of hardware network stacks. Thank you for listening.